From the University of New Mexico, our Early Childhood Services Center. We work with New Mexico pre-K classrooms. We have a consultation program, and every single classroom that's with New Mexico pre-K in New Mexico has a consultant that comes and visits them. And right now we have about 32 consultants that are visiting classrooms all over the state of New Mexico. And so that's the program that we're working with, and we'll tell you guys a little bit more about our program throughout this presentation and how we are incorporating video-based consultation. Okay. This is my co-presenter.
Hi everyone, my name is Susie Kantz. Welcome. Hope you're all enjoying your time in New Orleans as much as we are. We've been having a really great time here. So we'll be sad to leave tomorrow. Every year we say we should stay one extra day just to do all of the stuff, and then we never figure that out. So, but we have one more day here, so we're so excited to learn with all of you. Just to make sure that everybody is in the right place and you know what you're getting into, I'll show you our goals for our presentation today, and then I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So today our hope is to review the steps needed to prepare a consultation program to use video-based consultation. So is there anyone in the room that's a coach or consultant that's already using video-based consultation in your program? Okay, just a few. All right, so if you all are like us, you've probably discovered that there's just not a whole lot of information out there about video-based consultation. And so our goal in presenting today, our main goal, was just to give everyone information about what you need to do to get to the place where we are now, just at the very beginning stages of using video-based consultation, and hopefully to save you all some time so you don't have to go through everything that we went through to get to this point. Okay, so that's our second step. We're going to examine how we are using video-based consultation in New Mexico, and we'll watch a clip from one of our classrooms and one of our consultants interacting with teachers. Okay, and then we'll talk about the benefits of using video-based consultation and how it fits in with our face-to-face consultation model. Right, so this project began in the fall of 2013, maybe a little before that, but I was enrolled in a master's program at New Mexico State University, and we were asked to identify a topic for our action research project as part of our master's program. And at that same time, New Mexico pre-K had undergone a whole lot of expansion in our state. We're up to about 300 classrooms now. And we also are a race to the top state, so we had gotten some federal money and some other initiatives in our state that were all hiring coaches and consultants. And what we determined is that, wow, we need a whole lot of consultants for all of these classrooms, and our state is pretty rural. And some of our consultants were driving like 6 hours round trip to get to a classroom. Yeah, so that's a lot, and that's not sitting and waiting in traffic time. That's like actually driving in the middle of nowhere time. So when I give directions to my house, it usually involves go until you think you've gone too far, and then keep going, and you're almost there. But so anyways, so back to my action research. So we're thinking, how are we going to find ways to support all of these really rural classrooms? And so this was 2013, technology is pretty advanced, and we thought we need to find a way to use technology as a way of supporting consultants and teachers in our pre-K classroom. So that's what got this brainchild going, and then we would go to conferences and we would look for sessions on video-based consultation. And if you all are like us, there were no sessions to go to at these conferences, and so it was a whole lot of research, a whole lot of reading, and that is when I discovered that actually video-based consultation has been used in the United States in early childhood programs since the 70s. Did anyone know that? So it was popular in the late 70s, early 80s with the big old video camcorders, you know, and there was some research done on it. All of the research was very positive, and then it kind of went away for a while, and now it seems to be coming back again. And from the like 2005 on, there's a lot of literature about video-based consultation. So anyways, through my research, at the very end, of course, an action research project, you always have to identify conclusion, right? So my big conclusion was that there's 5 steps that you need to take to be able to prepare your program for using video-based consultation. So what we're presenting on today are those 5 steps. Right, any questions before we get started? Fabulous.
I'm sorry. So I have to give you guys a heads up. This morning when I was getting ready, I dropped a contact lens down the sink. So if I'm presenting and I'm going like this, you all know why. So I just want to begin by talking about the first step that we took as we prepared for the video-based consultation within our state, within our consultation program. So the first was to really identify those key partners who were going to participate in the program. So who was getting the consultation, who was doing the consultation, and was this a good idea for the infrastructure that we had built into our state? So we really had to look at several different aspects of our current model. So currently what we were doing is we had face-to-face on-site consultation happening so consultants would visit their programs about every 2 to 4 weeks, and they would have an on-site visit with their teachers. They would spend time in the classroom. They would debrief with the teachers at the end. And so that's what we had currently been doing. And like Susie said, with the amount of growth that we had in our state as well as the amount of travel, we had to think about sustainability and what types of things we saw moving forward. And so, so this was some of the things that we considered as we looked at a video-based consultation and what would be important for us to make sure we had in place and what we needed to make sure supported the video-based consultation if we felt like we were going to be able to do this successfully. Okay? So the first piece was looking at funding, and really did video-based consultation fit into our scope of work. So what this took was really a lot of conversation with our state leadership and finding out, is this something that we're interested in as a state? Are these benefits really going to be able to pay off for not only our consultants, but more importantly the teachers, the families, and the children of New Mexico? So funding was step 1. Then we really had to look at IT support, because that's not necessarily a piece that we had the knowledge on, right? So we knew about kids, we knew about teachers, we knew about consulting, but we weren't really sure about the IT piece and what it would take to actually use the video equipment in the classrooms, the teachers using it in the classrooms, what it would take in terms of IT knowledge for the consultants also. Okay? So we were fortunate enough to work with our university, and we have an IT program right there, right downstairs from our office in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is really nice. And so we were able to work closely with them to really let them know what our needs were. So that was really what we wanted to start with, was letting them know these were our needs. This is what we need the equipment to do. This is what we want it to look like. And then they were able to give us some recommendations on what equipment would be best and kind of what that would look like in terms of compatibility, right, with other equipment that we may have already purchased, because we had a lot of stuff that we already had, and we wanted to make sure that everything could work together. Another piece of the IT that we really had to look at was storage of videos. That we knew that if teachers were going to be taking videos in the classroom of themselves, we wanted to be able to have a place to store all of those videos and what that was going to look like. I know that sometimes I get really excited, I have a really cute video of my niece or my nephew that I want to share, and then I try to email it to somebody, and what happens?
It's too big.
Too big, right? Exactly. So a lot of those little bumps in the road, we knew that we were going to have to work closely with our IT program to help us through that. So the next piece we looked at was the willingness and able consultants. Okay, so this was something new for all of us. This was definitely not something that we had done before, other than maybe a Zoom meeting or two with the teachers that you had that were far away from you. And so, we had done some other pieces using technology and incorporating that into our consultation, but nothing on this level. And so we really had to think about who the consultants were and how many of them we might need to participate, because we wanted to start this off with a pilot group. So we really wanted to look at doing this with a smaller number of classrooms and using consultants who were first of all really comfortable with technology already. Okay, and we're also excited about this new adventure that we were embarking on together. The next piece we had to think about was the training. So when we thought about training, we thought about not only training the consultants, right, because that was going to be a new learning experience for the consultants that we were working with already in the state, but also with the teachers and the administrators of the programs that we'd be working with. They needed to become well versed in using the video equipment, as well as how we were going to use the computer to do debrief sessions. So what that would look like was, you know, a teacher would spend some time videotaping themselves in the classroom. They would, you know, decide on certain parts of the day and certain things that we'll talk a little bit more about as we get further into the presentation. And they would take those videos and then edit them and email them or upload them, and then the consultant would be able to access those, and then the two would have the conversation together. And so these were a lot of new pieces that we had to look at together with our consultants to find out, okay, who was interested in doing this, and what kind of training plan would we need. And so some of the things that we decided on were to make sure that we could train teachers and not have any other training requirements for them that year. Okay, so we knew that this was going to be something new that they were learning, so we wanted to make sure that this was what we focused on in terms of their training. So every pre-K teacher in New Mexico goes to a training in the fall, in their fall semester, with the consultant group. And so the teachers who were going to be participating in the video-based consultation would attend a training to learn how to use the IT equipment in their classrooms and what that video-based consultation would look like. Okay. So any questions about step one before we move on to step two? Sure.
Did you consider having somebody other than the teachers do the videotape?
Did we consider having someone other than the teachers do the videotaping?
Yes. So when I get into talking about what New Mexico's approach is, in a little bit we'll talk more about that, but the intention of training both consultants and teachers is so that both people are videotaping in the classroom. Of course, the teachers are videoing with more frequency than the consultants, just because they're in their classrooms more often, obviously, than their consultants. Because, like I said, our consultants are not on site with our programs. They're traveling maybe once a month now to their programs, and so it was really important that the teachers be able to video themselves as well.
Thanks. Any other questions about step one?
Yes, and if I could put your question on hold, and when we talk about equipment, I will address that, definitely. Thanks for asking, great question.
Anything else? All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to the second step that we went through as we were preparing for video-based consultation in our state. So for step two, what we really did was we looked at which teachers were willing and able to participate. And what we did is we looked at teachers who, so our pre-K program has been going on for over 10 years now in our state. So some pre-K teachers who have been with us from the very beginning have been receiving consultation for over 10 years. So some of those teachers were ready for something new. You know, they're very seasoned. They've been, you know, working with one or more consultants for several years now, and they were looking for maybe a fresh cup of tea, something new. And so that was one thing that we considered when we thought about the teachers that we thought would be good candidates to participate in this. The other piece that we looked about was, again, that sustainability and which programs and which teachers had the supports and the infrastructure already within their program that would really lend itself to video-based consultation. And we'll talk about a few of the things that we're going to consider here. So the first was the teacher technology literate. Okay, and so that doesn't necessarily mean the teacher themselves, right? This means that does does the program have internet? Some of our programs are very rural, out in very small towns, very small villages, and so we really had to look at accessibility to the internet. And so one of the pieces that we really used to identify which programs would be good candidates for this and which teachers is a survey that I think got passed around to you. So we just wanted to hand out that survey because we've done a lot of work in the development of the materials to get ready for our video-based consultation. And so the survey was one of the things that we developed along the way. And so we just wanted to go ahead and share that with people to help give you guys a shortcut if this is something that you're thinking about doing with your program or in your state. It's nice to have something to look at as you're figuring out how to create that for your own program or state. Okay? So that's what that survey is there for. So it asked a lot of questions about internet accessibility, about comfortability with technology, about willingness to learn something new, and about different teaching practices that the teachers would be interested in focusing on. Because there are certain skills that teachers have, and if they're interested in working on those skills, they really do lend themselves to being effective by video-based consultation. The next piece that we looked at was the administration of a program. So the two things that the administrator really needed to have in order to make this video-based consultation set up for success was the willingness to give release time to their teachers. And this is a big one, and this is one that can be pretty tricky in child care centers and in schools, because it's hard to find time away from the kids where the teacher can step out and have that planning time. Okay, and sometimes it would happen at the end of the day when the kids weren't there. Other times they would need to build it in to have a floater come in or a sub come in during a couple hours during the week and give that teacher the release time to be able to do this work in video-based consultation, which had to do with editing the videos that they're using, choosing which videos they wanted to send to their consultants, as well as the time to meet their consultants. So there were two big pieces there in terms of release time. The next piece that we really needed the commitment from in terms of administration was to really help the teachers be accountable. Okay, this isn't something that necessarily would be something that the teachers were already doing. This was going to be something that the teachers would have to work in to make sure that they remembered to turn on the video camera before small group that day, and that they made sure to keep it set up so that it was ready, and they made sure that they emailed their consultant back to set up that time so that they could meet together. And so the administration really needed to be on board in terms of helping the teachers keep up with those kinds of things. And then finally, a big piece that we learned about through this process was initiative burnout. Anybody have any ideas on what that is? Anybody experiencing that themselves sometimes, right? So what that means is just making sure that there's not a whole bunch of other programs and a whole bunch of other ideas and a whole bunch of other new things that this program or this teacher is involved in at the current time. And so if that was the case, then this video-based consultation would be a pretty big burden for them. And we didn't want it to be that, so we wanted to make sure that there wasn't this problem of initiative burnout. So we wanted to ask, and that's part of the survey that you have there is, are you involved in any other initiatives at the current moment? So those are some pieces that we looked at very closely as we were doing this preparation for video-based consultation in our first two steps. I'm going to pass it over to Susie to cover the next step with you.
So I'll just add to what Lauren said that, so one of the biggest things that we learned about video-based consultation is it does not work if teachers are not interested in doing it, or consultants. And so the very first thing was saying, hey, would you be interested in participating in a video-based consultation project? And what we learned from some other states that have been doing video-based consultation is that it's a lot easier to weed people out at the very beginning, before you purchase the equipment, before you train, just training every single classroom in their whatever program that they're involved in. And then what they find out is at the end, they have a small portion, maybe 10%, that actually do video-based consultation and learn from it and improve their practice and do it well. So one thing that was important for us is making sure that teachers were interested in it. So the survey that you all have in front of you on your tables, it was actually designed to be delivered via SurveyMonkey. And only the teachers that had already expressed an interest in video-based consultation will receive the SurveyMonkey survey. So it's not something that goes out to everyone. And we work closely with our consultants to for them to help us identify which classrooms. So we're hoping when we start our trainings in next month, actually, yay, finally, that we'll have about 9 classrooms. So about 9 out of our 300 classrooms participating in this project. So it's a very small number, and it's a learning experience for all of us and for our consultants. So the third step that I alluded to earlier is identifying what equipment and apps we'll use and train consultants. So it's important that the consultants be knowledgeable of the equipment and of the apps and kind of have a basic awareness of this before they can identify those teachers. So they really need to know what all is involved before they can help us kind of select which programs and which teachers will be good at it. So last summer, we started that process with our consultants, and originally our intention was to use Apple iPads. So all of our consultants have iPads, and we all went through trainings using lynda.com on the iMovie app. So our original intention was to use the iPads as the iPads and lynda.com. It's just yes, LYNDIA, right? Lynda.com. And because we work with for a university, we have a subscription. It's a training. It's a website that offers online trainings for different things. So you can learn about PowerPoint, or you can learn about Microsoft Excel. You can learn about iMovie. So we all went through this community of learners process for iMovie, and then actually as part of my action research at the time, I surveyed consultants to find out how they responded to that iMovie training. So I was asking consultants, how likely were you to use video in a classroom prior to watching the training video? And then the post-survey, how likely are you to use video-based consultation now that you've had this training? So about 80% of the consultants who responded to my survey said that the training was helpful to them. So we continued on this path of exploring video-based consultation. And we found out that iPads actually are not the best thing to use in the classroom because of the audio. The audio is not very good on an iPad, and so when you're thinking about a classroom setting with a lot of background noise and you're really trying to pick up on a teacher and a child's conversation, audio becomes more important actually than the video quality. So that's our first tip. So when you're looking to select video equipment, you're looking for audio quality over video quality. And keep in mind that our intention of using these videos is just to sit one-on-one with the teacher or a consultant just sitting in front of their computer screen and watching the video. So when I'm going to show you a video in a little while, you'll notice that the video quality is not excellent, but it was not intended to be shown on a screen this big with a room full of people. It's really intended to be viewed on a computer screen. So the quality of the video image becomes less important when you think of it from that way. So that is something to keep in mind as you're selecting equipment. Another thing that's really important to make sure is that it's easy to use. So you don't want something that's so cumbersome with a bunch of pieces that it's going to be very challenging for teachers to keep up with all of it. So that was one of the criteria that we used when we were selecting video equipment. And also to make sure it's compatible with other equipment. So we already had these iPads that our consultants were using. All of our consultants go out into the field a lot, so they're all equipped with laptops of different kinds. So it was important that we had video equipment that was compatible with all of that. And this is one of the main reasons why it's so important to have your IT staff on board. So if you're working for an organization that has an IT department, it's probably the easiest to just ask them what equipment do they prefer to work with, because honestly for you as consultants or as teachers, you're not trying to direct a film, a motion picture, you know, you're just trying to take a simple video of a teacher and child interacting. So it doesn't matter so much to you what the brand name is of the equipment that you're using, but it will matter to your IT staff. So let the IT people have some input on that. That's what we did. Because when something malfunctions or something happens, you want them to be able to fix it. You want them to be able to explain how to fix it in a way that's not going to discourage your staff or the teachers that you're working with. And yeah, so that goes back to the IT support. So then you also want to think about how you're storing videos. That was a question that came up earlier. So the decision that we've made at this point is to use external hard drives to store videos. And you also want to make sure that you have something that can be password protected, which most external hard drives can be. And one of the most important things that we have learned up until this point, which will be a huge training point for our consultants and our teachers, is that your video camera or your iPad, it is a video recording device. It is not a storage device. So videos are never to be stored on the iPad or on the camera. So our staff will be instructed at, within a certain amount of time of recording a video, they need to take it off of the camera, off of the iPad. Just because it's a lot easier to lose an iPad or camera. They're more likely stolen than a password protected external hard drive. And the hard drive is password protected. So one thing that you might want to consider, that was the original advice to us, was to have a server. So if you have access to a server that you can use to store videos, that's ideal. And that's what the people that we talked to wanted us to do. However, we're not all housed in the same building, so we don't all have access to a server. Our teachers are all throughout our state, so there would be no way for them to upload to a server. Yes? File size, mostly. It's a size issue. And issue of purchasing, like the subscriptions for the, so we're a contract-based program, and so it would be challenging for us to purchase something like a Dropbox subscription for a program. Now a program, that might be a recommendation that we make if that's easier for them. They could choose to use their own program funds to do that if that works for them. So it really depends on the structure. Like if you work for a school district, let's say, and you can get permission from your district to purchase that, then absolutely, that would be a tip for you. So another thing to mention about IT support is to make sure that they are on board with whatever systems that you're using, so that you don't have to worry about things like firewalls and downloading software and those types of things. So if you have an issue with that in your program, that will be something that IT will help you with. So currently, this is the camera that we have selected to go with, and we really went back and forth about whether or not we were actually going to share this with you all. But I remembered back a year ago when I was like, would somebody please just tell me the name of the camera that they use? My gosh, why are people so secretive about the name of their camera? So I am sharing it with you today. We're using the Canon Vixia Mini. It's a high-definition personal camcorder. It comes with a mini tripod, and it also can be hooked up to an external tripod. But I will give you this disclaimer. You should wait until you are actually ready to start going before you purchase your camera equipment, because the way that technology works now in our world, it changes so rapidly. So this camera that we're using was not on the market 6 months ago. 6 months from now, it will no longer be on the market. So if you're looking to purchase, 20 cameras, and you do want everyone to have the same, you should want everyone to have the same equipment, video camera equipment, you need to be ready to purchase when you make your decision about what you're going to purchase. Okay, so a year ago when I was begging people to tell me the name of their camera and nobody would, now I understand why. So So that's just my disclaimer about that. Okay, so step number 4. This is a big one. This is one that can sometimes be a big roadblock for people in various programs. So it's obtaining written consent and release to record, edit, and store videos of teachers, consultants, and children. So depending on your programs, this will be something that you really need to be mindful about. And that's something that teachers have our consultants have helped us narrow down. So when I said we went all the way down to 9 classrooms, this is one of the main reasons why. So if you know you have a program where the teachers or the administrator or whoever is not going to be open to this type of thing, then obviously they're not a good candidate for video-based consultation. Okay. And we did give you an example of our video release form that we use in New Mexico Pre-K. There's a couple of examples of it on the table, and we already uploaded our PowerPoint presentation to the NAEYC website, but we will also upload these other handouts as well. But one of the main reasons why I pass this out to you today is because it has already been translated into Spanish. That's on the back of the English form. If you flip it over, it's Spanish. And we know how cumbersome it is to get things translated. And so if that's something that's helpful to you, you have that now in front of you. Don't you have that?
It's not This is not printed on that.
Oh, it was on the ones that I looked up. Okay, we'll find it. Marissa, maybe you can help us look for that. Okay, and we'll make sure that it's uploaded for sure onto that website. So any questions about the equipment? Anything that you feel that I skipped? Yes.
I do have a question. So let me make sure I understand. Correct?
Yes.
You're allowing teachers to edit that video before they send it to a consultant?
Correct, yes.
How valid then is the results of that video in providing feedback on their performance?
So that's a really good question. So our role as consultants is non-evaluative. It is not our job to evaluate teacher performance. So we are in the business of providing a strength-based support to teachers. So what we're asking teachers to identify is, what do you want my feedback on as your consultant? What do you want me to look for? What do you want me to give you advice on? And like Lauren mentioned earlier, these teachers were really kind of the cream of the crop that we're working with, that are really interested in reflective practice. They're really interested in bettering themselves as professionals, and so our intention is that we will support them with whatever they identify needing support on. If you chose to use it with every single teacher and you had a teacher that was maybe less experienced or maybe just less secure in their own professional development, and all they wanted was to show you the great things that they were doing and to get some positive feedback about how great they were doing in their classroom, that's still very valid. And that's a relationship-based support between that consultant and that teacher. And so as we get into this project, because like I said, we're just starting the training of the teachers part next month in July. So as we get into this project, we might find that we have several months of just teachers uploading wonderful things that they're doing in their classroom. But that's fine. We'll roll with that too, because there's always something that you can learn. But I'm going to show you a clip in a little bit, and I think you'll see that the teacher was really open to feedback. And also, so the sharing between consultants and teachers, we are exploring the use of several different websites that can be used to do this. So the one that we're currently exploring is Hightail, H-I-G-H-T-A-I-L. So, and again, it depends on funding and what you have available to you as far as being able to purchase licenses to use different types of video storaging software.
There's their consent form.
Yes.
Videos shared with the directors at the centers where these teachers are at, or is it just because between the consultant and the teacher, or is that worked out ahead of time?
That is worked out ahead of time, yes. So that will be part of the conversation with so the programs will all be required to send a administrator with alongside the teacher to all of the trainings that we're doing. So the administrator or a administrator, might not be the director, it could be, you know, like an educational specialist or something, but somebody on site who's also knowledgeable about the project. And our hope is that teachers and administrators might share video with one another without the consultant even being involved. So,
do you all have documentation or similar contracts or things like that that you share with directors or share with teachers? Or?
so for our consultation program, we have what's called a roles and responsibilities document, which outlines that our role is non-evaluative, that we're supportive in nature, and it also has in there that our any feedback from the consultant cannot be used as part of a teacher evaluation system. So that's all very upfront. And like I said, many of our programs have been doing this for 9-10 years now, so everybody is pretty on board with how the system works. So a new program that maybe did not have that understanding probably would not be a good candidate for video-based consultation for those reasons. Yes?
How does sharing occur? So if a teacher wanted to share with the program director, how would they actually share that video? Copy of it, how does that happen?
So our intention is to provide the programs that are participating in the pilot with a laptop computer. So the teacher would be able to share video on site using the laptop provided to them for this project.
So that would both be there at the same time?
Yes. And that's a really good question, because that's one of the things that comes up as you're exploring different websites to upload video to. So then it becomes, who are you going to give access to, and who's going to have a password, and who's going to have. So if I'm working with 3 different teachers, I need to have access to all 3 teachers, but I don't want my teachers to have access to each other's videos. So all of these are things that are part of the process of selecting what you're going to do. And that's one of the issues with a server. So it's who's going to have access once. If somebody has access to upload, but they don't have access to pull it back down and view it, you know, and then they can't view, you know, so they can't view anybody else's, but then maybe they can't view their own. So these are all things to think about. Good questions. Was there another question over here? Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned that you're using this as a cost-saving model for transportation. Can you talk about how much money you save? Because the more I hear about the technology, the more I'm like, are you breaking even?
Yeah. No, we're not right now. So that is one of the, in our conclusion, we'll talk about that. So the goal is long-term cost savings and long-term sustainability, but it's a lot of upfront costs. So we're fortunate in that we have state funds for our pre-K programs, and so we're able to provide support to our programs in this way, but I know other people across the country that are using it. It's kind of like if you sign on, you have to be ready to purchase your own equipment. And that would be an okay model to use too. All right. So step number 5, this is a big one. It goes back to what Lauren was talking about earlier about release time. So it's really important that teachers and consultants have adequate time to review and reflect on and discuss video footage. So the estimation that we have received from individuals that have used video-based consultation and other programs is that it's about a 2-hour-a-week time commitment just for this pilot program. So like I said, these are teachers that are really invested and really interested in improving themselves as an individual, as a teacher. This is not a program for everyone. And I think that's one of the big takeaways is why do you want to use video-based consultation and what are you hoping to accomplish? And if it is cost savings, then just understanding that that might be more of a long-term goal instead of in the short term. Yes?
So the 291 classrooms that are not participating, are they getting consultation?
Yes, they will continue to get the monthly face-to-face consultation.
So everybody's getting it, and this group is using video rather than face-to-face?
Eventually, that is our goal, yes. So when in our conversations with our state funders and the scope of work and all of those conversations, what was determined is that basically these programs will be getting double support for the interim until they're really on their feet with the video-based consultation, until we can really see that it has value in place of the face-to-face consultation. Because that was one, and that's why it's taken us almost 2 years to get to this point, because there's a lot of hesitation to pull out the face-to-face consultation is working. That's why these teachers are good, and that's why they're candidates for this, you know, because the consultation that they're receiving has been successful. So to take away that successful consultation and to put something else into place, it is scary for people.
So you say that you're anticipating 2 hours a week. So what's your weekly or monthly time for the face-to-face consultation?
The face-to-face consultation is a little different because it does not require the teacher, the short answer is about 30 minutes a month, not a week. So that's without children. So when our consultants go to do consultation, a classroom visit, they're there while the children are there. So they are observing in the classroom while children are present, and then there's a 30-minute debrief without children after the consultation visit. So so it's a lot more time commitment. Yeah. And so right now, the way that we have it arranged in our pilot is that we'll start out with only 1 week of the month that they'll be required to have this 2 hour, and then build up from there. So they'll only be required to videotape in their classroom once a month instead of once a week. And eventually we'll build up to the once a week. Yes?
How do you know that this is liable for the equipment that you would have wanted to do? Because even with us, it's the first one of those time, if we let you borrow books, you have to sign something saying you're going to give us books back. So how do you make the teachers responsible and have for the equipment that you don't have? If I just do that, you don't want to or senior,
Yeah. It's a checkout system. So we have a sister organization in our state that's actually doing a similar project. And what they were able to do is to gift the equipment to their programs. And then it became, once we give it to you one time, it's your responsibility and you are totally, like, you own it, you're in charge of it. The experience that we've had with our organization is that that we will maintain ownership of the equipment, and so it will be our organization's responsibility for the equipment. So it's a checkout. It's similar to lending out anything else that we do, just a lot more expensive. So instead of giving them, you know, a magazine article or a book, we're giving them this video equipment. So again, these are questions that you ask yourself before you identify who's going to participate in the pilot project, because it's a big it's a lot of trust, and you really want to make sure that you are identifying people that you would trust with this equipment. And I mean, my personal philosophy is we're trusting them with our kids. So if we can't trust them with a $400 camera, we have a little bit of an issue. All right, so I'm going to pass it back over to Lauren, and she's going to talk to us about teaching practices supported by consultation, and then we're going to get to a video.
So I'm going to go over these next 2 slides a little bit quickly because I would really like us to have more time to discuss the videos and also to make sure we get everybody's questions answered. Okay? So there are a few pieces that we found that were teaching practices that were really affected by the video-based consultation based off the research that Susie did through her master's program. And so the first piece to look at was to make sure you had a clearly defined behavior. So you're not just saying, okay, you know, videotape small group time this week, and then you know, we'll just see what comes out when you watch it. We'll see what we see. You know, what we're really doing is targeting a specific behavior that the teacher and the consultant together decide, you know, this is something that I'm interested in looking at within my own teaching practice, and this is what I'd like the feedback on. So very clearly defined. So we also found through the research that teacher-child interactions were a big piece that teachers were able to reflect on and to really make some headway in terms of looking at those interactions. And it was interesting, one piece that we found was that last year we did a whole group training for all of our teachers, not a whole group, but a large group training for all of the pre-K, returning pre-K teachers on powerful interactions. And so this is nice because we're really looking forward to being able to follow up on this training with a lot of our video-based consultation. So the other piece that's going to be really important with this is the reflective practice, and the reflective practice will be there for the teachers. Right? They'll be able to really look at themselves, and this will come across really clearly in the video, how they are going to be able to reflect on their own practice. But another really big benefit is going to be for our consultants also, and to be able to watch their teachers, even watch themselves, because you'll see in this clip, we also videotaped the debrief session between the teacher and the consultant, and so the consultant was really able to come up with some cool ideas as she looked at the conversation she had with her teacher, and we'll get to see that really nicely as we watch our video.
So I'm going to set this up for you really quickly. So this is a pre-K classroom, a teacher with a group of, two teachers with a group of 4-year-olds. And on the day of the filming, the teacher and the consultant were working on implementing a variety of types of small group activities in the classroom. So this was a teacher that was really trying to move away from just the same old type of small group activities, maybe arts and crafts type of things, and really move into small group activities where she could have different types of learning experiences with children. So we're going to watch a clip, and you will notice that we start with the debrief. So before we see the clip of the children, what we're watching is the teachers and the consultant talking with each other after the visit. Then they watch the video, and then they talk about that small group experience again. So what we're looking at is how did the video help the teacher to pick up on other things about her small group activity that she would not have otherwise seen without the video. And the sound was working earlier, so hopefully it still is.
In the lesson plan, you had your small group activity was about doing the herbs, and you shared that with the large groups. It turned out really nice. But do you want to add that? What did you think about that?
We were just exploring the herbs. The kids really liked it, and they liked the water the best.
Yeah. What made you have the idea for exploring the herbs?
Just because they can live current. And I thought they could use their senses more.
Yeah.
Like smelling, touching, maybe exposing them to different herbs that they haven't seen or heard of before.
And the whole notion, I liked the notion of
the basil from the spaghetti.
Yeah. And you can use it for medicine. And you put the medicine or what it would be good for on the box. But can we look at a video? We took a little video at that time. Let's look at the video and let's focus on what was happening in the group, listen to what the kids are saying, and think about what you were doing. This one's about you, Andrea. Think about what you were doing and see if maybe that, if there's anything that you missed or that you'd want to look at to change next time.
I'm gonna see how tall the skin is.
I think this one's more.
It's two. It's 4 inches.
Look at the stem on this one. Look at how thick it is. Look at the stem on this one. You're gonna make you some spaghetti?
I need a nice one.
that. Just love that. Yes. And do you see anything in this video that stuck with your plan and that, you know, that worked with your plan, like you plan to do?
Well, they're really engaged. Sometimes people are engaged, but they were really engaged in this.
Why do you think that was?
Yeah, because I think we use different tools that they're not, you know, used to. And then just that we let them cut the plants. They're like, what? We can cut these?
And measure.
So that was like normal for them.
And any particular child, like that you saw?
I think Anthony. Because he's usually not, well, he usually doesn't like to go to small group, and he was really into it. He was really using all his senses. He was really, I mean, measuring everything.
Do they, do you see being able to use this as a tool to videotape so that you can look back and reflect on, and how would you use it, or how would you do that?
I think their language is all right there. So, I mean, and just observing all the kids, I mean, there's so much you can do.
And you can see what they're learning specifically. What would you personally do to enhance or improve this activity after watching this?
Well, maybe add some more herbs.
More herbs?
Maybe another water bottle.
So materials?
Yeah, materials.
And what about your language and your interaction with the kids?
I think we would add more of the words like herbalist, you know, botany.
Yeah, botany.
Vocabulary.
Yeah, you could do that, sure. And is there like a follow-up that you could see after this?
I think we would plant our own herb garden.
Good, that's great.
Okay, so you'll notice that that video had been edited quite a bit. So what I did was I edited just to the point where the teacher was comfortable sharing with us, but what we missed were some other conversations between the consultant and the teacher about some other things that came up during the small group clip. So the clip was about 10 minutes to start. I edited it down to about 25 seconds of the children. But what was really interesting was for this teacher was watching how engaged the little boy in red, Anthony, was, and then really reflecting for herself. This is part of what we did not see, but really reflecting on that she just totally missed interacting with him when he was measuring with that ruler, you know, and that was something that she had said. She mentioned the EIs. EI stands for Essential Indicators. It's what our teachers are required to observe on. It's our child assessment tool. So she had mentioned that she had had a lot of trouble getting him to engage in these types of activities to be able to do documentation on him for her, what she had to submit for that semester. And so when she watched this clip, she realized that sometimes he does do these things, but she just doesn't see it because she was interested in talking about other things about the herbs and how it looked like a Y. And then she goes back to talking about vocabulary and wanting to introduce more vocabulary words during the activity, which is this teacher's strength. So her strength is the literacy, the letters, the vocabulary, all of that. So that's kind of her comfort zone. So when the consultant was watching the video with us afterwards and we were debriefing on the debrief, that was one thing that she really observed about the teacher that she had missed as a consultant, is that I tried to take her to a different place, you know, over here to this other type, what else could you have done, what other types of things, and then she went back to her comfort zone of the literacy, the vocabulary, you know, talking about the stem looked like a Y. So just really interesting the ways that you can use video.
Well, I do have to say that the ability for teachers to be able to use these videos for their observations, which is going to help them fulfill that other requirement that they're working on in their classroom already, was a big selling point. So that was a piece that really got teachers excited about having this opportunity and having this equipment and doing this, is because they said, you know what, this is not only going to help me in my teaching practices, but it's also going to help me with all of the observations, the written observations that I'm doing to the classroom. And so it was kind of like the two birds, one stone thing. And so that was a really big selling point, which was exciting for classroom teachers.
Yeah, and something else that I neglected to mention earlier when I was talking about equipment is the whole idea of incentivizing teachers to participate in this project, and that technology is a huge incentive for teachers. So, you know, teachers like things, and sometimes we give them, you know, they come to a training, they get a book or something, but how cool to come to a training and get a video camera. So that is that is the only way that we are allowed to incentivize the teachers that we work with. So in exchange for providing this 2 hour of release time, because we cannot pay them for their time, we can provide them with equipment as the incentive for that. Okay, so the benefits that are identified in the research, and like I said, we're still at the very beginning of our project, so it'll be a while before we're able to speak to these for ourselves. But in the research, video-based consultation sustainability was one of the big benefits. So when thinking about using video-based consultation as a support to those large group trainings, which is what we talked about earlier, being able to sustain the topics covered in your large group trainings by following up with video. So if it's not possible for the trainer to go, or the consultant to go back to the classroom and talk about teacher-child interactions on a very regular basis, if the teacher continues to send video to talk about that is of her interacting with children, that is one way that we can sustain that information covered at that large group training. Okay, there is a long-term cost savings, the research tells us. So we're waiting to get to that point for ourselves, but we're told that there is a long-term cost saving. And that, of course, would be once the teacher gets to the point where they can record themselves, watch their video, reflect maybe with a colleague, a teacher next door, and eventually moving the consultant out of the picture altogether, or removing the face-to-face contact, which we're currently doing. Yes?
So have you guys considered opting for mobile devices, but purchasing microphones that can be inserted in those mobile devices so that you could get better audio? In other words, they could use their devices, which are cheaper. So if you've got an Android device, $200, sometimes even $150, but you purchase a mic, which may cost another $50, $60, maybe another $100, and that's a lot cheaper than the camera that you invested in. And it's easier for the teacher to work with it and their devices, so that cuts the cost relatively significantly.
Yeah, so it's really just kind of weighing what exactly you want the camera to be used for, because there's also, like with the iPad, for example, there's also an issue of the amount of time that you can record a video. So the iPad will only record a video of a certain length, but if you have a teacher maybe that wants to record a longer activity, or they want to record all week long and then upload once a week during that 2 hour time block, that would be difficult. So these are all things that we had to weigh, but absolutely it is possible to use equipment such as that for this. There's no right or wrong for the video equipment.
Do you give recommendations on how long their videoing should be? Like, give me a 10-minute video, give me a, you know.
Yes, we will. So if you are trying to observe for a specific skill, in one child it's like a 2 to 3 minute video clip, I think is what the recommendation is. If you want a whole process or a routine of some kind, maybe 5-10 minutes.
Okay.
So teachers will be asked in advance to identify what exactly it is they want consultation on, and they'll be asked to edit their own video down within those time restraints.
But I can tell you again, because teachers are going to find the extra benefit of using these for their observations, even if we give them the time frame, I bet a lot of them are going to want to record a little bit longer so that they can capture those other conversations that happen that maybe they didn't pick up on, and use them also. You know, even if they don't use that as the uploaded content for their work with their consultants, they'll find another purpose for it.
And long videos are very daunting. So, I mean, to go back and forth, like this was a 10-minute clip, like I said, that was way too long for me to film, because when I was trying to edit it, it was just too much. to have to go back and forth and back and forth. And so probably if I had taken a 2 to 3 minute clip, if I had known that this is what I had in mind when I had started, I probably only would have captured, I would have turned the camera off at some points of time that I wasn't getting the information that I wanted. Yes?
Before I forget to ask, you talked about like incentivizing the teacher so they get to take the camera, but they don't get to keep it, right, at the end, or they do?
We're not at the end yet, so
do you guys know?
We don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they'll at least have it.
Yeah. Brenda?
We have to look into the whole anti-donation thing with the individual teachers. The state procurement code typically says that an incentive has to benefit an entire class or group or program rather than an individual. So it would go to the program rather than
I know it's 5:30, so I want to respect everybody's time. We will stay after and answer any questions that come up, but I did want to point out there are some references here. Our website where you can find the forms that we use is there at the bottom.